Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Welcome back to the Texas Hockey Podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Neal. I'm with my co-host, Travis Tyler. How are you doing this evening, sir?
It's an okay night. Not a great game, but
No,
we're here.
we're here. We're here after Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. We're here more than the Stars were tonight. It was a 3-0 loss on home ice. We're now looking at a best-of-5 against the Edmonton Oilers. We come out of the 2 games of Dallas with a 1-1 series. The Stars get shut out again, this time on home ice. This was not a fun one to get through if you're a Stars fan, Travis.
No, and it's not usually very good when you're getting shut out by Stuart Skinner.
Which it seems to be his thing recently.
Yeah. I mean, he had a couple against Vegas, so we'll give him credit for that. But I'll give him credit for bouncing back the way he did from that third period, because he looked like he was on it tonight. I mean, the Stars didn't have a ton of shots on goal, but it looked like even with those scoring chances, he knew where the puck was. He could see pretty much
he looked calm.
What he needed to see, and nothing seemed too dangerous for him other than that one diving save that he made.
He's a pretty easy goalie to read, and that so far in these playoffs with 100% accuracy, if he gives up a goal, he loses every time. He has yet to win a game while giving up a goal. His 3 wins have all been shutout wins, 2 against Vegas, 1 against Dallas now. But I think you kind of nailed tonight. Yes, it is a shutout, but I don't think Stuart Skinner was tested all that much tonight.
Right.
The Stars had an extremely uninspired game offensively. It was rough to watch them with the puck tonight.
Yeah, I think the first period was probably their best offensive period.
And they got outplayed badly in the first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think to start the game they were all right, and then as the first period went on, they started to get outplayed, and then one thing led to another. They haven't been a second period team all postseason. I think I saw it was -7 goal differential. In postseason in the second period, and then they weren't able to take care of any chances in the third period that they got, and they were playing a lot more shorthanded than they did in the first game. It felt like, at least, and Edmonton was capitalizing on those, and it seemed like all the talk that we've heard from Edmonton about, we're fine, we're getting a split, we probably should have won that first game, was right there, and they answered the way that you expected them to answer.
Yeah, we talked about last episode to kind of finish off was expect a much better Edmonton team tonight. They looked angry, and this is a team that plays really well angry. We see all the stats about how good Connor McDavid is coming off of a loss, only gets an assist tonight, but 100% dominated the Stars every time he was on the ice. And then you get him off the ice, it's Leon Draisaitl, and it just felt like they were never coming off all night, and the Stars did not have an answer for it.
Yeah, and McDavid could have had 2 or 3 goals easily. He was walking through that defense
100%.
But like the section next to me was whistling whenever he got the puck. That's how dominant he was. He was just going right through everybody, and it helped that section was all Oiler fans pretty much. And one guy wearing a Vladimir Tarasenko St. Louis Blues jersey. Weird choice at this game.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So he dominated that game, and they just it felt much more like those first 2 periods of game 1 throughout the game.
Yeah. But if when talking about this game in its entirety, right? So we have a 3-0 loss. The first goal was definitely awkward. The second 2 I felt were a little bit more deserved. It's the simplest way to put it is Dallas got outplayed tonight for 60 minutes. But talking about this game in its entirety feels like you're not talking about this game in the correct manner, as no one is talking about how badly the Stars played tonight. Everybody is talking about Oilers defenseman Darnell Nurse, who, Travis, what did Darnell Nurse do this evening that made Stars fans a little upset?
It was kind of the equivalent of taking a baseball bat to a car windshield.
Yes.
He I mean, you watch the play, seems like a clear intentional slash nowhere near the play to Roope Hintz's shin.
Yeah.
And
So
Roope was not able to get up. It looked like they were moving his legs so that he could get in a position to at least be carried off the ice, which is scary as hell. And he couldn't put any weight on it. So it doesn't look good for him. They didn't have any actual updates for him, but just off of observation and seeing what happened in the arena, it did not look like he will be back for the next game, but who knows?
And kind of on the replay, what looked like it happened in a little bit more detail, Darnell Nurse I think it's two hands coming right down. I don't know if it caught Roope on the shin as much. I think it caught him on the top of his foot. That's my guess from the angle.
My angle, it looked like the shin.
Both are bad. Both are really bad. The only reason I'm thinking more foot, and it's hard to tell on the slow-mos, is there's padding on his shin. There's nothing on the top of his foot. Shin would probably be best case scenario here.
Padding is not saving you from a slash like that.
No. No.
I said baseball bat. It could have easily been a crowbar.
Oh, yeah. No, this was a violent slash. An important thing to remember when talking about this is Roope does have a history of injuries to the foot and ankle area. This is not a spot that hasn't been injured before, so it's a big concern. The only health-related update we've gotten so far is Roope did leave the arena in a boot this evening. Of course, go ahead.
Darnell Nurse has a history of these kinds of things too. So
yes, we're gonna get into that. So, at first glance, what are your opinions on this play?
At first glance,
the intent, how would you penalize it?
Immediately when it happened, I was like, "Oh, that is an intentional cheap shot. Take out his legs, kneecapping, basically." And I was like, "There's no way that is not a major penalty. There's no way he avoids suspension. It's
bad.
Whatever discipline." I was like, "That is a bad play, a dirty play, and whatever happens, he deserves." But they obviously didn't see it that way.
No. So the way that it's called on the ice is initially a 5-minute major is called, which I think in any play that looks bad to the eye at first on the ice, I love calling a 5, because what that does, for those of you who are unaware, it opens up the ability to then review, and that review can take the 5 completely off the board, change it to a 2-minute minor, or it can stay as a 5-minute major. So I'm glad the officials went and looked at this play to get the quote-unquote right call. This play was taken down to a 2-minute minor, and Stars fans lose their mind completely. Their best player is in a ball on the ice, being carried off. He can't put any weight on his foot. That's his left foot. So Stars fans aren't happy, and it doesn't sound like it sounds like a lot of people in the press area were also kind of, this should be a 5.
I think a lot of us were very confused by that call. I have seen some people kind of defending it somewhat, not the injury, but like the way the refs ruled it. The way it was interpreted and stuff. But also, I think it should be pointed out here that nobody should really be arguing that play cost the Stars the game or anything like that. This is
outside the game.
Yeah, I'm getting responses on Twitter like, "Oh my gosh, the refs handed the game to the Oilers because of this." I'm like, no, that's not what happened here. That's not what anybody is arguing. We're just arguing for the sake of the call and for the sake of basically the future intent's the wrong word.
Sport.
Future implications of this in the series.
Yes. Or even just officiating in general, because I think this is going to open up a really big conversation that I really want to get into. But I want to read you the dreaded rule 61.3, which is a kind of subsection of the slashing rule. I'm not going to read the slashing rule in its entirety because I think everyone's kind of familiar. You hit someone with your stick. Don't do that. But I am going to talk about the major penalty ruling. Oh, go ahead.
I think 61.4 comes into play here too. Should have.
Oh, yes. We'll read 61.3 and 61.4. That's a good call. So 61.3 reads, and this is exact words from the NHL rulebook. A major penalty at the discretion of the referee based on the severity of the contact shall be imposed on a player who slashes an opponent. When injury occurs, a major penalty must be assessed under this rule. By that rule, Travis, you were at the building. I mean, I could tell on TV, but let's get your answer. Was Roope Hintz injured?
I believe so.
As a result of the slash?
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I believe right there in the rule book, it says that is a 5-minute major. Clear as day.
It
5-minute major.
It does.
5-minute major. So let's dive over to 61.4, which is the match penalty of the rule. The referee, at his discretion, may assess a match penalty if, in his judgment, the player attempted to or deliberately injured his opponent by slashing. A lot of people are making the argument, including some Stars players, that this looked deliberate.
It absolutely did, especially when it was nowhere near the play.
Like it's way behind the play.
There's no point to it if it's not deliberate.
Yeah. So it comes down to a 2-minute minor is the way that it ends up going into the books. They only got a 2-minute power play. And by rule, and I'm saying that for a very important reason that I'm going to come back to. By rule, that should have been 5. And there is no gray area in the rule book for that. Yeah. Now, can I go on my tangent? That
Absolutely.
I've been practicing mentally since this game ended. National Hockey League, what are we doing here? Because it's been pushed and pushed and pushed. Are we penalizing the action or the result? And I've always thought it was more fair to penalize the action. Okay, I think that's the way it should be. And most rules are written like that. Mm-hmm. And that's why I actually thought at the time of watching it, I actually was on board for this should just be 2-minute minor. Just because it was a more severe version of what we see every play come playoff time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if, let's say this hits his pad in a little bit of a different way and he doesn't go down, there's a chance I don't think this will get called if he doesn't hit the
pad. And I think that's a fair point.
Yeah. So I've always been a huge person for we should not be penalizing based on injury because that's such a wide variable that shouldn't matter. We should be penalizing for what did Darnell Nurse do? So when I open my phone and read the rule book that it specifically says to penalize based on the result of the play and not what the player did, I lost my mind. Because I'm like, throw the rule book in a fire at that point. What are we doing? Because the one time that you actually put it in the rule book to call it like this, you don't. Like the one time you get the opportunity to, yes, it is in the rules, we should call this based on the consequence of the action. You penalize it the way that we probably should be penalizing it.
Yeah. I just think the action itself, the action itself was so intentional, it seemed in this case, that it warranted something. It warranted a severe penalty.
Yeah, I think what I'm saying is that the National Hockey League, when it officiates plays like this, specifically in the NHL playoffs, it is they put a blindfold on and they throw a dart at a board. Yeah,
100%.
This is all we're asking for. If we want to penalize based on if a player is hurt or not, do that. That's fine, but that needs to be the standard every single night. Right? This should not be a conversation. Wait, you're a football guy. Do you remember how confusing the catch rule got?
Yeah.
Like, we're getting into that. Like, it's bizarre how incapable the National Hockey League is of properly officiating its own sport.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
To your point, bringing in the NFL here, it's not even just the NHL. All the rules across all sports have so much gray area that they can't even figure out how to make these judgment calls.
How to call. Like, and the NHL has it worst because we have, like, you can complain about balls and strikes in baseball and passing interference in football, but could ask the average hockey fan, let's say you've never watched hockey and you're starting to get into it a little bit, and they ask you, what is goalie interference? How do you answer that question? I don't know what goalie interference is.
No one does.
How do we decipher major versus minor? I don't know. It looked bad. That's how they call majors. It looked bad.
At least going from minor to double minor is, was there blood? That's something concrete.
Like, I actually learned recently that's not the rule. The refs just make that up. Yeah. All it says
they make it seem like injury. The rule. Yeah.
Yes, so they just treat it like blood or no blood, but that's nowhere in the rule book. The NHL, come playoff time, is officiated like a beer league game that doesn't have a ref. That if all 10 players on the ice go, that should have been a penalty. That's the only time something gets called.
I think the number of times the fans were yelling at the ref for get the hell out of the way, that'll tell you there's a ref on the ice. That's the only reason. The only reason you know there's a ref on the ice is because bad calls and refs getting in the way.
Yeah, so like briefly like summarize what I'm trying to say is all I'm asking for is some damn consistency, because I'm tired of seeing these moments every single spring where it's just like, man, that could be assault and you're going to prison tomorrow, or that could be nothing. And it's a coin flip anytime something crazy happens. And now this is the second star player we've seen in the course of these playoffs that has been injured by a play like this.
Yeah.
It's the second time, and neither times it got penalized the way it should. Look at Sam Bennett taking out Anthony Stolarz in the Leafs Florida series. You mean to tell me that was officiated with any type of consistency? You know what? Jamie Benn next game should just go elbow Stuart Skinner in the back of the head as hard as he can, and pay the $5,000 if they even give it to him. He's not going to get suspended.
Check in the back of the head.
Do whatever you want.
Am I going too far? Yeah.
Like, do what you want, and we're gonna bring you back. Jamie got fined for $5,000 for his punch against Scheifele. We kind of skimmed over it considering the Scheifele situation, but Jamie Benn has been penalized or fined in every playoffs for as long as I can remember. He has a reputation. In Stars fans, it's okay to say it. Everybody knows if you say there's not, you're in denial. But he looked at that, and he has a salary. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, somebody needed to fight back over that. Like, your teammates down on the ground, and they're just watching, letting it go. Mm-hmm. Like, this series has been physical at other points. Why is it not physical at that point?
Yeah.
Somebody's supposed to stand up at that point.
This is what Jamie did. He makes $9.5 million a year, give or take on actual salary, and he looked at his fist and said, it's only $5,000 if I put this through his face. That's not punishment. That's just pay to win. Like, it's ridiculous what we're doing here. The NHL officiating come the playoffs is an absolute joke and legitimately makes the sport harder to watch. It is such a good game this time of year, and it just, I don't know how to explain it to anybody. It's fun to watch. And it comes back to the game management thing. Refs love to manage the game. It's infuriating. So he comes away with just the 2-minute minor. Unlike the 5, if I'm gonna guess, we're not gonna get anything from player safety tomorrow. If it was only called a 2 on the ice.
No, yeah.
I don't think we did.
That's another thing. If they left it at 2, that makes any disciplinary action very, very minimal.
Yeah, or very unlikely. Now, the NHL has a chance to redeem themselves. Like, if they come out tomorrow and give him a game, I think we can move on from this conversation because I think we would take.
But Bettman won't do that. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. Do you trust George Peros, head of player safety, and Gary Bettman tomorrow to make the correct decision? Because have they done that once?
No. I mean,
no.
Honestly, my impression of Gary Bettman from my fanhood is not very good. So
no, he's not a good commissioner because we don't know what the sport we're watching is.
Yeah,
we don't.
I mean, he's had 3 lockouts during his entire tenure, 3 or 4.
3.
3. Yeah, that's. I mean, that's bad, and that's
4 if you count
COVID. And that has nothing to do with the rest of the stuff that we're talking about here.
No,
that just shows how bad he is. Yeah.
Player safety has been found purposely altering games because the head of player safety's son works for a certain team, and like that's been found to be true. Just it doesn't take long to find. We're not going to get into it because that's a rabbit hole.
You better make sure
too late at night.
We're opening ourselves up to a damn lawsuit.
Yes, no, there's some stuff with the Panthers and some emails that came out. Okay. And then it just kind of got brushed under a rug. But yes, that did happen. I'm not going to go into more detail since I'm a little fuzzy. There's just these patterns of just it comes back to inconsistency and referees trying to manage games that don't need to be managed.
Yeah.
Are you referees or are you managers? Because you can't be both.
Yeah.
You can't be both. It doesn't work. But what else doesn't work to kind of take us off of that? The Stars just didn't work tonight. It was a bad game. We really talked about last episode. There's 2 roads that this game was going to go down. Was it going to be the first 40 of game 1, or is it going to be the last 20 of game 1? And we said if the Stars wanted any hope of winning this game, it needed to be an extension of that last 20. And I think everybody in the building agrees we got 60 minutes of the very worst of the first 40 from game 1. Do you like kind of overarching, like what did they not do well other than just they got outplayed?
That's the scary thing. That's kind of it. they got outplayed. They got outplayed. They got out hit. They got out skilled. They got out skated and didn't adjust to the speed.
No, I think the speed is what's killing them.
Yeah.
Because I think what's happening
is
Edmonton
is Colorado basically that they're playing.
A faster and more skill. Somehow more skill. They got better. The Stars are having so much trouble getting the puck from there. They'll get possession of the puck on their own end, and they just can't move it from there.
Mm-hmm.
And they just get hemmed in. And Edmonton plays this free-flowing, creativity-based game that when you're hemmed in your own zone, you're just sheltering and praying that it doesn't happen.
And they make all these passes that you're just like, how the hell did they just do that? It somehow it ends up an open shot, multiple open shots. They keep the puck in the offensive end. Dallas really has had little spurts of where they've been able to do that, but it hasn't been continuous like it is with Edmonton.
Yeah, they just it never ends, and the Stars look slower.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little concerning that I really think the only line that's doing well is that finish line they've put together. Mikhail Granlund might be the Stars. Him and Hintz, I think, are the Stars' best forwards right now. Mikhail Granlund, since he got his hat trick game, has been amazing.
Granlund has been the best forward the past few games, both ways.
Hintz plays an amazing two-way game. He's not as flashy, and he's not the guy getting the scoring attempt at the end of the play, so I don't think he gets as recognized as a player like Granlund. Mm-hmm. But Roope is the guy making Granlund look good right now. And that line works, but after that, all 3 other lines changed tonight, and none of them got better. It looked bland.
I will say that even with the struggles tonight and how badly they were playing, it still felt like that if they could get one goal, there was some belief that they were going to pull off what they did the other night.
Yeah.
And honestly, that could have been that Wyatt Johnson shorthanded opportunity that he just sent over the net. That was probably the biggest opportunity to make this into a game late.
And you come into the third and you take penalties. Like, you start the third shorthanded. You take a penalty not long into the third. How are you supposed to do what you did in game one? You can't. It never gets – it's like trying to start a diesel in cold weather. You're at
a disadvantage 5-on-5 against Edmonton. You're definitely at a disadvantage 4-on-5.
Yes. And by the time the Nurse thing happened – I think this game was already over. Like, there was the part in your back of your head, if you remember the Sharks Knights series a few years ago, someone took a 5-minute major in the third period while down by 3, and they ended up rallying back on that ensuing power play. That could have happened. But it's not the way the call was made, and we're gonna steer back to the kind of reactions.
Yeah.
No, it's not that likely. You can't, and this is what I think I said in the first episode, is we can't be going into the third period of Western Conference final games and hoping that we get some power plays and we can turn this stagnant team around.
Goals or more in a period. Yeah, it's not going to work. Do it. Yeah.
No, and I'm not afraid to say it. If the Stars play like they did in these first 2 games, this series will not last long. Like, they need to have such a huge shift from games 2 to 3. Unfortunately, with the way that the schedule is laid out, they're going to fly out tomorrow and then not skate at all until warm-ups for Sunday, which is just brutal for the Stars.
We should get into that Sunday timing in a little bit too.
Yes, we will. It's a joke.
Some interesting
it's
stuff.
A joke.
Yeah.
There's a lot of and I'm trying to. I think it's impossible to cover a game like this without emotion, because everything went wrong for Dallas tonight, and it's hard not to be angry for this team that is too good to come out of a game of this much importance on home ice with everything negative. There's nothing good to take from this game.
Yeah, I mean, they talk all season, and they've shown all season about responding to adversity and losses and stuff. Obviously, they didn't lose game 1. They responded to adversity in that game in the third period. But Edmonton's response to game 1 was much better than Dallas's.
Yeah.
We challenged the Stars to come back and use that third period energy and keep it this entire game. They maybe had it for the first 10 minutes or so, and then everything went Edmonton's way.
Even those first 10, it kind of like Edmonton was still the better team in those first 10, but it was Dallas can win this. They get a bounce. They can take control of this game still. And that really went away. It's in surviving that adversity. Like, you played an awful game 1. We're going to, like, again, you have to look at the whole game in its entirety. It was not a good game. They came out with a win. You guys got bailed out of a terrible game and knew you had to be better. And Pete adjusting his lineup the way that he did showed he knew the team needed to be better. Yeah. And they just did not respond to that at all.
Yeah. And let's be real here. You're going to get your opportunities against Stuart Skinner. He's not this world beater goalie. He doesn't control rebounds very well. So you're going to get your chances on those rebounds. For some reason, and Taylor and I were talking about this during one of the intermissions, he is playing the puck, like coming out of the net to play the puck way too much, and you need to be taking advantage of that, because
he's one of those stay in the paint goalies. I know Edmonton fans hate watching Stuart Skinner because I've seen goalies like that.
He is coming out to handle the puck way too often, which means Dallas forecheck should be all over it, and he's sloppy. He's sloppy with it when he comes out with, like, he's left it sitting behind the net with none of his players around. I think tonight he ended up damn near the face-off circle on one of them.
Well, like a perfect example, when he fumbled the puck and it went to Robertson, and it's like, this is a perfectly indicative game, or a perfectly indicative moment of how this night went. Skinner bobbles the puck turns it over to Robertson with a completely empty net, who bobbles it even worse. That's how tonight went.
You need to take advantage of those opportunities if you're going to win this series. It's very, very, very simple.
Mm-hmm. And Rantanen needs to apparently when we said regress back to the mean, it just meant he would stop scoring a little bit. Has the honeymoon phase worn off where we can say, hey, kind of needs the pot one again?
I mean, there are still moose hats showing up in the arena, so
and there will be.
I think we're okay. But we need that production to come in.
Yeah, and Robertson, I understand the injury thing, but there's a reason he was on the fourth line tonight. I think what this series is,
one of those reasons is the injury, but yeah.
But he hasn't. If you're too hurt, don't play.
Who else
that's my thing.
Put in there for him though.
Who came? It was Oscar Back who came. No, but what percentage of Robertson is worse than 100% of Oscar Back? It's one of those conversations, right?
Question.
But it's a scale, right? Because you get 80% of Robertson, that's definitely better. Okay, 70% of Robertson, probably still better. But when you get down to that 50% of Jason Robertson, are they better than 100% of Oscar Back? That's when it starts let's have the conversation.
It starts to be like, what are you looking for out of this forward that you're going to be playing? Do you want offense? Do you want penalty killing? Do you want energy? Do you want smarts, continuity, chemistry, whatever?
Yeah. And I think the thing is, right, is his injury was knee related, if I'm remembering correctly. So his speed is going to be affected. And when we're in a series, that speed is really the key to success right now, because the Stars just can't keep up. It's hard to show off your skill when they're just that much faster than you guys. Robertson can't skate. He's not fast enough right now. He's normally a pretty good skater. He's not right now.
I just don't think there's anybody.
I'm not trying to
be like a better skater.
No, I don't.
That's the way it is. Yeah,
you're stuck between a rock and a hard place with Robertson right now.
Eventually, he's gonna find it, but it took him a long time at the beginning of the year to find it off that injury too. So you don't know when he did find it. It was absolutely beautiful, but now you don't know how long he's going to be in this rut. I mean,
it needs to end soon.
Any type of goal out of him is going to feel really, really good for this team and for him, especially personally.
Yeah, because this is how the Stars kind of have to look at this now, right? Yes, they are 3 wins away from getting to the Stanley Cup final. That's a very optimistic way of looking at it. They are 3 losses away from this meaning nothing.
Yeah.
3 where we're at.
Yeah.
So I get that there's injuries and stuff. Maybe I'm asking too much of the guy. I probably am. But the timer is ticking on the season, because it's getting tighter, because Edmonton's a very difficult building to play in. And we're going to talk about the schedule, but if you don't come out of these well, I don't know if I even like their chances. This best of 3, let's say they split in Edmonton. Do you like Dallas's chances in a best of 3 against the Oilers right now?
Because of home ice, I'm not uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I like it, but I'm not lacking confidence because they have that arena in that advantage.
Yeah. And you can be honest, because we're trying to talk about this in an honest way and not sugarcoat it. How confident are you we're getting back to the American Airlines Center with a 2-2 series?
Very unconfident. I won't say not at all, but it's not looking.
It's looking like
not looking.
and I really want to put the Astros. The Stars are definitely capable of turning this around, and we see a different team in games 3 and 4. But the way the games 1 and 2 went, we're lucky to be coming back to Dallas in Game 5 at all. Is the way that the series has played out so far, and it might be a pessimistic way of looking at it. But I kind of want to talk about the reactions. You were in the locker room after the game.
Well, I was in the Edmonton locker room after the game.
You're in Edmonton. Yeah. So yes, let's ask what was the vibe in the Edmonton locker room afterwards?
It was honestly like they were happy, but it was kind of stoic. Honestly, like they, we talked to McDavid was the longest interview, and Zach Hyman was the other interview that they brought out. And so they were. I mean,
David was quiet and reserved. I'm gonna guess.
There was a lot of questions of. There was a lot of like, so Connor, I guess you guys can play defense, and he was like, "Yeah, we know, I get it, ha ha, very funny," like that kind of. But it was very much. We're happy we won. We're happy we got the split, and business as usual from here on out.
Yeah. So safe to say that the Stars post-game stuff went very differently because it was hard to focus on tonight's game. Really, it was from the Stars' point of view because and we're gonna pedal back a little bit back to the slash because we have some stuff that I kind of want to bring some quotes. Jamie Benn had a good quote. I'll bring that one before the Pete quote. But Jamie Benn was asked about the play. I said we didn't like it. If that was McDavid walking down the tunnel, I would like to see the results of that. So really commenting on the fact that the NHL does protect its star players.
Yeah, I mean, he's 100% right.
Yeah, Roope Hintz is criminally underrated on a national scale in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
He should be a player that's protected, but his style of play isn't as flashy. Yes, he doesn't speak the best English. He plays a more 200-foot game than most, and he plays an untraditional hockey market. He just doesn't. It's like Sasha Barkov was for years before they started getting the conference final. It's like, man, this dude is the best player in the NHL and no one talks about him. He's a player along those levels where they just don't get the recognition. But Pete had a banger of a quote, and that's one of the things that I love about Pete come playoff time is it feels like every year he just decides I'm going to be the best media coach in the league.
I love when he gets just straight up blunt, no bullshit, just awesome.
Yeah.
And standing there listening to him, everybody looked around and were like, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
he said that.
That's exactly, he's right. No lies told here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring that to the show. His quote. I'm gonna play it for us here. It's gonna be. Yeah, we'll just kind of listen to Pete here. He has a good kind of reaction to the play. And
do you have an update on Roope and what did you make of that slash?
Well, I'll answer your question with a question. Does anyone in this room think if Connor McDavid gets carried off the ice like that it's not a 5-minute major? Oh, that's my answer.
Yeah.
He was also asked to elaborate a little bit, and he's stuck with that answer.
And you know what? Because anything more is going to get him fined.
Yeah.
He's blunt about it. They really feel that this was not called correctly, and they weren't even discussing how the rule is written in that situation. They were talking about on precedents. The precedents has been set that these things go penalized. A player gets hurt. And the punishment was not severe enough in the eyes of most people watching, except apparently the people in charge of officiating the game.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't have much to say on that other than he's absolutely right.
He's right.
We've covered that several times already in this episode.
Yeah.
If you're not one of the faces of the league, you're not getting that treatment.
No. So we look towards game 3, and this is going to be a rocky road even getting to game 3. So we have the Roope thing to kind of keep an eye on over the next 48 hours. The way that looked, I wouldn't guess that he's going to be there game 3, but plan for both. We won't probably know much until game day of.
It depends on the timeline of how they figure they want to do things.
And unfortunately, this is a tight timeline. The Stars will fly to Edmonton tomorrow. That's not a short flight. There's a decent amount of travel between these two. And then we see a 3 p.m. or is it 2 p.m. start on Sunday?
2 p.m. Central Time.
Okay, so we'll go off 2 to keep it simple.
Which is weird because there were a lot of people asking after the game about playoff matinees, and Zach Hyman in particular couldn't remember ever playing a playoff matinee. So that's going to be very interesting to see how those two teams respond that way.
It's important to remember this is the Stars' second one of these in these playoffs. What it creates is a situation, especially for the goaltenders. Yeah, you were. What this leads us into another situation, and it's good to let's look at the goalies first. They're going to step off the ice after game 2 and not step back onto the ice to feel a puck until warm-ups for game 3. There's no time. Yeah, it's nothing but travel and sleep. For players like Roope, who let's say in a theoretical world, there's a chance that he plays Sunday. That severely decreases his ability to get into the lineup if there is a chance, because you're just not stopping moving.
Yeah.
And with how late these games end, you go home, you sleep, you would probably wake up early and get on a plane. You might as well be playing a back-to-back at that point.
Yeah. I mean, then that's pretty much what the series is going to be from here on out. I mean, you have the 2 games in Edmonton, but other than that, it's straight up every other day. It's a straight up every other day schedule going back and forth between Dallas and Edmonton each game after that.
Yeah. And I think the back and forth works. I think play off day works unless you have a matinee. It's too much come playoff time, especially this late into the playoffs.
Yeah. I would understand like a first round game when they have 3 games a day, pretty much.
Yeah. There's no need for it. Why are we?
Yeah. We're playing Eastern Conference plays one day, Western Conference plays the next day. Why are these not primetime games every time?
Are they trying to take advantage of like the holiday weekends? It's weird. So like
I think it might be the TV networks trying to put something on in the middle of the day. Something that's going to draw eyeballs.
I'm a motorsport person as well outside of hockey. Sunday is the biggest motorsports day of the year. We have the Monaco Grand Prix in the morning, the Indianapolis 500 in the afternoon, and the Coca-Cola 600 at night. So you're like, man, we don't want to compete with NASCAR, so we're going to compete with the Indy 500. Good job. Yeah,
I guess you could look at it that way. Yeah.
Because the NHL's afraid of competing sometimes with television stuff. It could be, I mean, we don't really have a reason as to why they moved it. That's just kind of a guess. It could be scheduling conflicts in the arena.
Speculation. No proof.
Yeah. But if we can tell Katy Perry to move her concert and we just do the conversions that quickly, they can too. Okay.
I love that. That was hilarious.
For those who didn't hear that story, Katy Perry was supposed to play at the American Airlines Center Wednesday night, and they got the schedule for the Western Conference Final, and they told Katy Perry that she is now performing Thursday night, and they shouted out the ESPN guys who were there at 6 a.m. at the American Airlines Center because they had to move everything out for Katy Perry, all the television stuff, and then move it back in, and that was an all-day process today. So huge shout out to the American Airlines Center staff, everybody involved with that, because that's got to be stressful. Unfortunately, the players didn't repay them for that at all. Unfortunately, neither did the refs.
Yeah.
So, what talking about on ice, what do you think the Stars need to nail in Edmonton to try to get out of this alive?
Pucks in the net. That'd be a start.
Pucks on net, not even in the net. Just put them on the net.
That's where I was going to next. You get pucks in the net by putting more pucks on the net on a shaky goaltender. Be aggressive. I know at times it's not really a style. Like they play like a smarter, somewhat aggressive brand of hockey, but in this case, I feel like it needs to be a little more aggressive, even though that might come back to bite you with the speed that Edmonton has. But
you know what? I'd rather it bite them than this wait for Edmonton to make a mistake.
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. You need to score goals against this team. Who cares if they're going to come back and beat you a few times and have it bite you a few times with where they beat you? You need to find a way to keep pace, because otherwise you're going to be out of here real quick.
The Stars have when they're playing well, they don't have an issue scoring goals. They can hang with the Oilers.
Yeah,
but you need to be comfortable doing it. They look
uncomfortable quickly, but you cannot keep getting shut out by Stuart Skinner.
No, that's what it is. We got shut out by Stuart Skinner in the Western Conference Final. That should be the main talking point of this episode. Unfortunately, so many other things happened tonight that we can't just be like, damn, we got shut out by a bad goalie. No, we can't have that conversation. Nothing went well.
They also, not to keep harping on this point, they need to find a good way to combat the speed that the Oilers have. Because it's just... Like you said earlier, puck possession is huge in this series. And so far, it seems like Edmonton has won that battle very easily for 5 of the 6 periods.
Yeah, unfortunately, and this is an honest question again, do you think the Stars have the speed on the roster to even do this at their best? Are they fast enough?
No.
Because
they're skilled enough.
They're slower.
Skilled enough, sure. Fast enough. Skilled enough, sure. Powerful enough. Physical enough, sure. But keeping up, it's a challenge for this team. It just is. It's not the way they're built.
It's the issue with I'm not gonna blame players, but there is some age in the Stars lineup just kind of across the board.
Well, there's some age in Edmonton too. Let's be honest.
Yeah, there's some, but like the guys that we're asking to really step up right now aren't guys that are fast. And that's kind of what you need. Like, I'm not like, man, Matt Duchene needs to blow by a defenseman. He's never going to do that again.
Yeah. He in his prime, he probably could. Mm-hmm. He's still got some really good moves, and he's still a good player, but he doesn't have the speed to get by these guys right now.
No, and we're not asking Jamie Benn to turnstile defenseman, where we can't ask Tyler Seguin to turnstile defenseman. The guys who are quick, and I think of Mikhail Granlund as a faster skater. I could be completely wrong, but just he gives me the vibe. He's got more quickness.
It's just that there are guys that have the skill and the physicality to be good players in this series. They're just not fast enough. Mm-hmm. That's.
And how long are we going to let Mason Marchment be bad before we start just ripping him apart?
It's another one of those cases where it's like, who else are you going to put in there?
Yeah. This is what scares me about this series.
With all this talk about who we're going to put in there, we're kind of missing Maverick Bourque too.
Yeah, he was a little water bug.
Yeah.
That guy. This is what scares me about this series, and this is what really scared me after game 1, is I don't think the things that the Stars do, I don't think they have done badly. It just has what they do hasn't been enough.
Great matchup for them. It's just not.
No, where I don't know if they have the extra gear to get past the Oilers. And I hate saying that because I think the Stars are so talented, but this is an awful matchup for them at the moment. Mm-hmm. And all the respect to the Oilers, man. They've played great.
Yeah, especially with 13 games through the first 2 rounds. That's a lot. Yeah. That's a. I mean, and it's two straight years of that. And at the beginning of this year, they kind of acknowledge that, hey, these last 2 playoff runs have made us tired to start the season. And they
doesn't heal.
could be becoming tired here.
Look, like Tampa said that for a year. It's like we play 100+ games a year.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to do. And the Stars are in that conversation of they've probably played the most games out of anybody.
Yeah.
The last few years. I know they're up there.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a toll, especially on the guy, and it comes full circle.
It's all these physical opponents who are also good enough to be Stanley Cup contenders, even going back to the first round every year.
So is it almost like playing Edmonton and Colorado together in back-to-back playoff runs takes a toll on your body physically, and you don't?
I mean, but you also
crazy, like.
But also don't forget last year's first round was against Vegas, who was the defending Stanley Cup champ.
So let's stop right there. So they've had a stretch in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Where they played Vegas. Then they got Colorado. And then they got Edmonton. And then they got Colorado again. And then they got Winnipeg, who they're new to the group, but man, were they good. And now you get Edmonton again. You didn't get to beat up on a Kings. You didn't get to play what's another
here. Yeah.
A St. Louis. You didn't get
Minnesota.
That's why you want to win the division.
Yeah.
So you get those easier opponents in the first round. But unfortunately, when they do win the division and they get the wild card opponent, it just so happens to be the Vegas Golden Knights. And it's just who are just brutal.
Sorry, we had a lot of injuries this year, but we're still really, really good.
We have a lot of injuries that are specifically going to be fine
in round one. Yeah.
They'll be fine. They'll be 100%. But they're really hurt come game 82. Hate Vegas. I can say that.
I promise. He really did stub his toe this morning. Yeah.
Yeah. But I before we go on too long, this has been a long episode. But this is the longest we're going to talk about a loss. I promise. If y'all made it all the way through, we really appreciate you listening. It's been absolutely wonderful to do this show for y'all. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, follow, leave us a rating, anything. Share it with everybody you know. We'll be back here Sunday night. Hopefully, we're talking about this in a little bit more positive manner, and we really hope that Roope Hintz has a good recovery over the next few days. We will see you for Game 3.